The Minecraft 1.16 version, which has lasted nearly a year, has seen some of the most active and insane speedrunning in the entire speedrunning community. It was on one of the most popular games of all time, and it coincided with speedrunning peaking in interest in the West, thanks to many famous speedrunners. So as expected, Minecraft speedrunning was intense. It was real. For months, the Minecraft community had been blown away on many occasions, by insane new world records, crazy new strategies to beat the game quicker than ever, and by madmen who continued to push the game to its absolute limit. And there was endless anticipation in between. Just who would beat the world record next? And just how fast could you possibly beat Minecraft? That would be a question that countless speedrunners, old and new, famous and unknown, would try to find out. Today, as 1.16 comes to an end, we will be diving into the world record progression of Minecraft 1.16. But first, a quick rundown of everything that came before that. The Minecraft speedrun category is split into two other categories, each having two categories. The first split is set seed and random seed. Set seed is using the same world over and over again to speedrun something, which is far more consistent than random seed, where you generate a random world every time you speedrun the game. Both categories have a glitchless or any % category. For this entire vid we will be focusing on random seed glitchless, or RSG, as this is where most of the speedrunning today happens. The beginning of Minecraft speedrunning was at the start of 2012, back when the End Dragon was added to the game. After the addition of the dragon, beating the Ender Dragon was considered to be beating the game. Much of the community was on board with the idea of using set seeds and glitches to speedrun the murder of the Ender Dragon, as it was seen as nearly impossible to speedrun killing the dragon on random seeds or without glitches. But some people said otherwise. They wanted to speedrun the game with no glitches on a random seed every time. A new experience for each run. Sure, it would require crazy amounts of luck to get a good run. But some people liked it that way. You never knew what to expect in each new world, which kept the spirit of Minecraft. The thing about RSG is that due to the randomness of everything, skills such as memorization and timing, which are seen only in games with levels, were not used in Minecraft. In Minecraft, you could only optimize movements, crafting stuff, combat, and making good decisions on what to do next in a certain situation. The rest was left to luck. If you got an unlucky seed, you would have to start all over again. Most of the earliest RSG runs originated from Japan, which is where RSG was the most popular at the time. The earliest known run was a 4-hour-long run, recorded just a few months after version 1 came out. A lot of the length comes from the RNG required to get certain drops needed to progress in the game. There was no real strategy or plan. It was pray for good luck and try to get to the end as fast as possible. As the time went down, from 4 hours in 2012 to 2 hours, and from 2 hours to 1 hour, and eventually to 30 minutes, not only would luck become more important in beating the world record, but actual strategies were needed. And there were many good strats that were found as the game got updated with new features and items. Also, Minecraft is a very complicated game. There were tons of features in the game that were simply not understood yet. Speedrunners just needed to learn how to use them to their advantage. There are also a lot of known features that I can't explain in one round, so I'll be explaining them as we go. Eventually, people in the West became interested in RSG speedrunning as well. While speedrunners such as Illumina High Definition have been active as early as 2014, things started to really pick up in 2020. It was around 2019 and 2020 when Minecraft saw its second peak of popularity, and after the RSG category split into versions pre-1.9 and 1.9 plus, due to the two versions having drastically different gameplay. And it was the 1.9 plus category that saw the most action. New speedrunners such as Dream and older speedrunners began battling it out for the world record. This led to the 1.15 speedrunning war between Dream, Illumina High Definition, and Benex, the real one. Between January and May of 2020, the world record switched 13 times between the three players and some others, with the time being lowered below 45 minutes and eventually below 30 minutes. On May the 5th, the shortest-lived world record was set, when Real Benex and Illumina coincidentally started a new run at the same time on stream. Real Benex obtained a time of 24 minutes 52 seconds, until 3 seconds later, Illumina beat that record by 6 seconds. But the thing is, the speedrun community uses time attack instead of real time, which is basically real time minus loading screen time, which is to normalize hardware differences. Benex had roughly 9 more seconds of loading screen than Illumina, while Illumina was 6 seconds faster in terms of real time, so Illumina, who is a moderator of the list, gave up his world record and corrected the leaderboard to set Benex 2 seconds faster than him for in-game time. And on June of 2020, Dream sniped the world record by 15 seconds. And that was the last 1.15 world record change before 1.16 came out. 1.16 came out during the pandemic thingy, which was basically a time when everyone was staying at home and had nothing better to do than to play video games, and during the peak popularity of Minecraft speedrunning. So as expected, the 1.16 speedrun category would become not only the most active and well-known speedrun category on Minecraft, but in the entire speedrunning community. And yes, the 1.16 version was split off from the 1.9 plus category due to 1.16 making major changes to the Nether, which was a crucial part in all speedruns. So now there were 3 random seed glitchless categories. We can finally begin talking about the world record progression of 1.16. At the time, the basic strategy for speedrunning 1.16 was this. 1.16 has 6 subversions. Speedrunners like to use 1.16.1 because that version is easier to speedrun for reasons I will explain later. When you begin a speedrun, the best place to spawn is next to a village. After getting some wood, stone, and making some basic stone tools, you can loot the village for iron ingots and hay bales, which you can craft into food, which will be important throughout the entire run. You also pick up the beds from houses, which will be important in the end. You then mine gravel for flint, which can be found near lakes or rivers. With at least 4 iron ingots and some flint, a bucket and flint and steel are crafted so the nether can be reached. Extra iron can be used to make better tools to make breaking blocks easier, or an iron sword to make killing mobs faster. After filling the bucket with water and finding a lava lake, a nether portal is constructed by turning the lava into obsidian with the water and placing lava around in a rectangular shape so that they can be turned into obsidian as well. With the flint and steel, the portal is lighted, and the player steps through. The player can only hope he will spawn next to a nether fortress. If the player's wish is granted, the player will proceed to search the fortress for a blaze spawner, which spawns about 2 or 3 blazes every 10 to 40 seconds. The player would wait there and kill blazes for the blaze rods, which has a 50% chance of dropping. 6 rods is the bare minimum you should get. Then, you would mine gold nuggets from nether gold ores, craft them into gold ingots, and trade them with piglins, which can be found around the nether. Piglins drop a wide variety of items, but back then, speedrunners only focused on ender pearls. In 1.16.1, ender pearl drop rates were way higher. Which explains this. Ender pearls can be used to teleport around, but they are also used to make the Eyes of Ender, which are needed to proceed to the end. After getting at least 12 ender pearls, the player uses the nether portal to return to the overworld. The player would then make 12 Eyes of Ender with 12 pearls and 6 blaze rods, and use the Eyes of Ender to locate where the stronghold is, which is at least 1,400 blocks away from the center of the world. Along the way, the player kills any chickens they find on the way to obtain feathers, which, along with spare flint and sticks, can be crafted into arrows which will be useful later. But what is the point of arrows without a bow? which can be crafted from sticks and string, with string being found from various sources such as looting chests generated in structures, killing spiders which spawn at night, or from breaking cobwebs found in the stronghold, which is where the end portal is located. The stronghold is usually underground and is made out of many rooms, and it can be quite tricky to find the end portal room. After locating the end portal, the player uses up to 12 Eyes of Ender to fill the portal, which teleports the player to the end dimension. The bow and arrow is used to shoot down the end crystals on these pillars so that the Ender Dragon cannot regenerate health from the crystals, and the player waits for the Ender Dragon to perch, which is when the Ender Dragon flies down to the center of the island and sits around for a bit. Now for some reason, trying to sleep in beds in the end dimension causes it to explode. And nobody has even questioned it. But this game feature can be used to cause explosion damage to the Ender Dragon. Using beds to damage the dragon was known many years ago, and is the most effective way to damage the dragon. About 5 or more beds and a few extra hits using an axe or a sword can kill the dragon, thus completing the speedrun. When 1.16 came out, that was the best way the community knew to speedrun the game. It was not really known how to manipulate the RNG or how to find structures easier or so on. But due to the sheer size of the Minecraft speedrun community and the complexity of the game, with tens of people attempting to understand the game better, there would be many new insane strats that would found later on. But for now, people began to use this basic strategy to speedrun the game. The first world record holder was a German speedrunner named RealBenX, which was one of the guys who traded world records with Dream and Illumina back in 1.15. But he was now interested in doing 1.16. And on June 26, 2020, he got this run. He did not spawn next to a village, but he was close to a desert temple. Spawning next to structures in a Minecraft speedrun is generally an advantage due to structures having loot that may be useful in speedruns. In this temple, he found a fair amount of iron, gold, and even some diamonds. And enough string to make a bow. This allowed him to make decent iron and diamond tools and weapons later on, which were going to be useful. He then goes in a random direction while breaking dead bushes for sticks and mining gravel for flint. Eventually finding a village 3 minutes in. He goes there to get some food and some beds. Another thing to note is that nearly all speedrunners turn on subtitles, because they give helpful information about what is nearby. Benx then searches for a lava lake so that he can build a nether portal, which he does about 6 minutes in. Luckily, he spawns right next to a fortress after entering the nether, which makes finding blaze rods much easier. He gets some decent blaze rod RNG, and then spends a minute to search the nether fortress chests for extra gold, which he did not get. He then leaves the fortress to begin mining gold and searching for piglins. It takes about 3 minutes to find a piglin, and it takes 14 trades to obtain all the ender pearls he needs. He runs back to the nether portal and leaves the nether about 15 minutes into the run. It is night time in the overworld, allowing hostile mobs to spawn. While this makes traveling to the stronghold harder, the skeletons that spawn drop extra arrows, which will be useful. After throwing an Eye of Ender, he begins traveling in its direction. On the way, he kills skeletons, tries to obtain flint, and kills chickens so he can make arrows. Nearly 21 minutes in, he casts 2 Eyes of Ender, allowing him to triangulate the location of the stronghold. Benx digs down at the triangulated location and falls into the stronghold, and luckily finds the portal room just a few seconds later. After filling the portal, he arrives at the end. He spends 2 minutes shooting down all the end crystals, causing him to miss the first Ender Dragon perch. Some of the crystals have iron fences protecting them, which can be outmaneuvered by shooting in between the tight gap between the pillar and the fence. After waiting a minute for the Ender Dragon to perch the second time, and shooting the dragon in the meantime with his remaining arrows, he finishes the run by attempting to go to sleep multiple times in the vicinity of the dragon. 2-cycle Ender Dragon kill. It was not bad. And the run was world record for a week. Until another German speedrunner named Nice Twice beat it not by 1 minute, or 2 minutes, but by nearly 3.5 minutes. Here's how he did it. At the start of the run, he gets the usual wood and stone tools, and some flint as well. He finds a village 2 minutes in, where he gets the usual stuff needed for a speed run, but with the wheat, he does something interesting. Using the flint, he makes a fleshing table, which is one of the job blocks used by villagers. Placing a job block next to a villager causes that villager to get a certain job, and a fleshing table turns villagers into fletchers. So he places a fleshing table next to a villager. After trading a lot of wheat for emeralds at a farmer and trading the emeralds for arrows at a fletcher, he obtains about 100 arrows, which is, for a lack of a better word, a lot. While villager trading was the meta for 1.14 and 1.15 speed running, piglin trading was much more efficient in most cases, and villager trading is no longer seen as often in 1.16 speed running. He then finds a lava lake and enters the nether at 5 minutes in, which is 1 minute earlier than Benex. He then spawns right next to not only a nether fortress, but right next to the blaze spawner itself, making things much more convenient. After getting some OK blaze rod RNG and mining some gold, he also finds a piglin nearby, obtaining 14 ender pearls in only 4 trades. This blaze and piglin luck allows him to leave the nether at 10 minutes in, 5 minutes ahead of world record. If he had a similar stronghold ender and boss fight time, he could potentially lower the record by over 5 minutes, which was insane. But he didn't. Here's why. Along the way to the stronghold, he stumbled upon some ocean and mountainous terrain. However, ocean travel is overall better than land travel because the ocean is flat and very easy to traverse using a boat, perhaps the easiest terrain to travel for speed running. Not only is boat travel slightly faster than normal sprint jumping on land, but it does not consume hunger. While there was some ocean travel and nice twice as run, there was also mountainous terrain, with several steep slopes in his way, and a big mountain blocking him from the stronghold later in the run. As a result, it takes 6 minutes to reach the stronghold, a similar time to real Benex. He was still 5 minutes ahead though. He triangulates the exact stronghold location and digs inside, and finds the portal room quite quickly. Now all that was left to do was to get a good ender dragon kill time. However, after entering the end and destroying the end crystals, he had to wait nearly 2 minutes for the dragon to do its first purge. He attempted to bed bomb the dragon during the first purge, but he was too late. It would take another minute for the dragon to purge again. Back then, it was unknown what determined the time the dragon takes between each purge, and it was assumed as purely random. So they just had to deal with it. In the second purge, he manages to bed bomb the dragon twice, but the second bed does not deal that much damage due to the dragon flying away. He would have to wait yet another minute for the dragon to purge again. The good thing was that he had a lot of arrows from the villager trade, so he spent all of the time shooting at the dragon when it was not perching, which lowered its health a lot. On the third purge, he finishes off the dragon with one last bed, and the speed run is finished at 21 minutes 8 seconds. While he had better RNG in the earlier sections of the run, his end fight was not as good, with a 3-cycle dragon kill, whereas Benex did it in 2 cycles, which led him to beat the record by 3.5 minutes when it could have been 5 minutes or more. It was still a very decent speed run though. The record stood for over a month, which was noteworthy in a community with tons of active speedrunners all competing for the record. In just a single month, over half of the top 10 leaderboards had already been replaced by new speedrunners. Reaching 10th place would require a time that was twice as better as 10th place only a month ago. That was how active the category was. However, first place was still 2 minutes ahead of second place, until a speedrunner named Pizza Hut nearly took first place, being only 19 seconds behind. Pizza Hut was not as lucky as Benex or Nice Twice when it came to villages or nether fortresses. It took him over 3 minutes just to reach a village, and after getting the items he needed, he spends even more time to find a lava source, and enters the nether 7 minutes in. It then took him nearly 2 minutes to find a blaze spawner, from which he gets mediocre blaze rod RNG. After that, It took him some more time to mine gold, find piglins, and get enough pearls from trading. He left the Nether at 18 minutes, which was 8 minutes behind world record. Despite getting to the end in only 4.5 minutes compared to 6 minutes in the world record run, and getting an insane one-cycle Ender Dragon kill by successfully bombing the dragon 6 times in a row before it could leave, resulting in a very fast end time, he still could not beat the world record. This goes to show just how important luck was in going for the world record. As the world record eventually got lower and lower, luck would only become more crucial. The conditions had to be perfect for every stage of the run, and there was little room for mistake. Speedrunners would reset thousands of times in the search for a good seed, and seeds would often die far into the run due to something going slightly wrong. There was no way to tell if it would be a good or bad seed. You would have to play it and find out. Speedrunners would often go crazy upon finally finding a viable seed. And one of these people was the Sizzler. The Sizzler had been streaming 1.16 speedrun attempts for a while, and to make the experience more bearable, he would let his viewers name worlds for him. However, worlds that were named by this user, named Seth, would tend to be very lucky, and he had a streak of naming unusually lucky worlds. It was like a magical touch. And on August 8, 2020, Seth told the Sizzler to name his world, "I can't be lucky forever." Little did they know, history would be made at that moment. Speaking of moment, please take a moment to subscribe, for more stuff like this. Thanks. Anyways, back to the video. After finding a village and lava pool quickly, he had a little trouble making the Nether portal, leading him to enter the Nether at 6 minutes in. While he finds a fortress with relative ease, it takes a little longer to find the actual blaze spawner, so in the meanwhile, he mines gold and trades with piglins. Not only does he get pearls, but he gets 2 fire resistance potions from trading. Due to blazes setting players on fire, players usually have to retreat to regenerate and wait for the fire to burn out, which makes things riskier and slower. But fire resistance makes you immune to the fire attacks. He uses the fire resistance and then takes a while to find a blaze spawner. He gets 7 blaze rods just to be safe. And he returns to the overworld 13 minutes in, which is still 3 minutes behind world record, due to his Nether section not being as lucky. He would need some serious time saves in the second half to save the run. He discovers that the stronghold is in the middle of an ocean, and it takes only 4.5 minutes to reach the stronghold due to the convenience of traveling on flat ocean. Also, instead of having to dig down to the stronghold, he could just swim down to the stronghold. He enters the end 18 minutes in, only 2 minutes behind the world record. He would need some serious skill and bed bombing action in the Ender Dragon fight to clutch the run. He had about 5 beds from the village, but he makes 2 more just in case, using the wool he got from killing sheep he found on the way to the stronghold. The thing was, he had no bows or arrows, and he was not going to spend time to destroy the end crystals. He was going to go for the 1-cycle Ender Dragon kill. One thing I did not mention earlier about the 1 cycle was that for a 2-cycle Ender Dragon kill or longer, you would have to destroy all the end crystals because they would regenerate the dragon in between cycles. But if you could kill the Ender Dragon in just 1 cycle, the end crystals would not have enough time to regenerate the dragon by a substantial amount, making them basically useless. So you could just ignore the end crystals if you went for a 1-cycle kill. Not only could you skip going for end crystals, but you could ignore getting bows and arrows altogether, as that was the only use for arrows. All you needed to bring to the end was beds to bomb the dragon as soon as it did its first purge, but killing the dragon in its first purge was going to be tricky. Instead of placing beds on the side of the center structure, you would place beds right on top of this pillar. This is because while bed bombing the dragon from here allows the dragon to perch completely and then fly away, bed bombing the dragon from here would block the dragon from perching completely, causing it to be stuck in the air so you could bomb over and over again. You had to bomb the dragon before it could get too low, or it would descend completely and block you from placing beds for the rest of the perch. If you did it while the dragon was too high, it would not deal as much damage. Anyways, back to the run. The Ender Dragon perched just 1 minute after spawning into the end. This is because destroying end crystals tends to make the dragon target the player instead of perch. But with no end crystals being attacked, the dragon said, "Whatever." And Sizzler got ready to bomb the dragon. You may have noticed that he has hitboxes on. Later on in the video you will notice speedrunners using debug commands more frequently, which are basically tools and information you can view using F3 and some other key depending on what info you wanted. They are part of the original game, and are allowed for speedrunning. In this case, F3 plus B toggles hitboxes, and the Ender Dragon hitbox was going to be useful. Beds deal the most damage when this small hitbox, which is the dragon's head, is right above the bed. The hitboxes don't line up perfectly with the rendered Ender Dragon head, so Sizzler would have to time the bed explosions with the hitbox lining up with the bed, which was made easier with visible hitboxes. If the timing was wrong, the beds would not deal as much damage. If the Ender Dragon did not die in the first cycle, it would fly off and be regenerated by the crystals. It would be all over. It was go big or go home. After using all 7 of his beds, he pulled off the 1-cycle Ender Dragon kill, which saved him so much time that despite some bad luck in the earlier stages of the run, he was able to beat the record by not just 1 minute, but by 1.5 minutes. It was the first time the 1-cycle Ender Dragon kill was seen in a world record run. And it would not be the last. On August 27, 2020, a runner known as Dave1E would pull off the 1-cycle Ender Dragon kill as well, by using some beds and TNT he found in a desert temple, to destroy the Ender Dragon in a single perch, putting him in 2nd place, narrowly beating Nice twice by 1 second. Not even a full week later, and 2nd place is retaken by Nice twice, who pulled off the 1-cycle Ender Dragon kill as well, barely missing 1st place by 10 seconds. But then, after a month of the world record being held by Sizzler, a runner known as Dimax would take the world record by 4 seconds. The run was pretty similar to Sizzler, with a decent enough village spawn, nether section, stronghold spawn, and a 1-cycle dragon kill. But after just 10 days, Dimax would beat his own time and bring down the world record, by over 2 minutes. But how did he do it? It was a method that would come to be known as blind travel. 1 block in the nether is equal to 8 blocks in the overworld. So putting 2 nether portals 100 blocks apart in the nether would lead to the 2 nether portals being 800 blocks apart in the overworld. In the overworld, strongholds can be up to thousands of blocks away from the player's spawn region, and it may take around 4 to 6 minutes to travel to the stronghold in the overworld. Maybe even longer if the overworld terrain was bad. But distances that are thousands of blocks long in the overworld may only be a few hundred blocks in the nether, which was far quicker to travel. In the nether, you would only have to go about 200 blocks away from the origin in the nether, and then make a new nether portal there, and use it to return to the overworld closer to the stronghold than before. However, making a new nether portal from the nether would be difficult. Water buckets do not work in the nether, so you could not use the bucket strat to make the portal. Obtaining obsidian requires a diamond pickaxe, and also takes a very long time to mine. But that's not the only way to obtain obsidian. Dimax had entered the nether around 6 minutes in, and while searching for piglins to trade with, Dimax found this: a ruined portal. Ruined portals are randomly generated nether portals spawned in the overworld and the nether, which are only missing a few blocks of obsidian. You could get single pieces of obsidian rarely from piglin trades, but usually not enough to make a full portal out of. But with this ruined portal, he would only need 2 pieces of obsidian to finish it. So after getting enough ender pearls and obsidian from piglin trades, he finished the ruined portal and returned to the overworld nearly 13 minutes into the run, at coordinates -1500, 1200, about 2000 blocks from origin. That was already right in the middle of the stronghold ring, which saved a lot of time. He didn't have to spend extra minutes to travel to the stronghold like the other world records did. He did not realize it at that time, but he had just done blind travel, which would become used in all world record runs after this one. Blind travel will be further explained later. It only took him 2.5 minutes to locate and travel to the stronghold, and to get to the end. He was 2.5 minutes ahead of world record, and it would stay that way. After one cycling the Ender Dragon, he beat the world record by over 2 minutes. It was seen as an insane run, with many people seeing the ruined portal as one of the luckiest things in Minecraft speedrunning history, at that time of course. And after this accidental discovery, speedrunners began to utilize making a second nether portal to skip long distances in the overworld, although with different methods than a ruined portal. And that would not be the only time insane luck would come into play. Because just 10 days later, the record would be shortened by another minute and a half. Here's how it went down. The seed that was used in this run might have been a seed that was sent from God himself. And it just so happened that a speedrunner named Corbanos stumbled upon it. Corbanos spawned right next to not only a village, but a lava lake as well. This meant he could build a nether portal as soon as he was done getting stuff from the village, without having to spend time to look for a lava lake. He then spawns right on top of a fortress, some gold ore, and finds a blaze spawner quite easily. And right next to this spawner, was a piglin. It was the holy trinity of good nether luck. Not only that, but he also gets amazing RNG with blaze rod drops and ender pearl trades, allowing him to return to the overworld in just 7.5 minutes. After making some eyes of ender, he finds out that the eyes of ender are leading him towards an ocean, and you know what that means. This led to him reaching the stronghold 12 minutes in, and he entered the end after a minute of searching for the portal room. He goes towards the middle of the island, but he has to wait nearly 2 minutes just for the Ender Dragon to perch. After one cycling the Ender Dragon, he obtained the new world record of 14 minutes 56 seconds. And that was where the world record stood for a month. The amount of luck that went into this run was insane, and for a while, there would not be a world that could match this seed. The importance of luck in getting world record was at an all-time high. But in place of luck, some people decided to come up with new strategies and methods of beating the game faster, that relied less on simply getting lucky. They were going to get into the more technical side of Minecraft. Several people, such as Jojo, Key4, T-Wag, Matthew Bolin, and many more had been experimenting with the game. A lot. What exactly was possible with the game? And just how much could you manipulate in a speedrun? As it turns out, a lot. Over the next several months, these people would find many methods that would be the foundations of world records that would be set very later on. Methods to navigate fortresses and strongholds, as people understood structures better. Methods to predict where structures would spawn. Methods for basically anything speedrunning related in general. And as early as September 2020, Jojo found a way to manipulate Ender Dragon behavior, and to try to make it perch faster so the player could bomb it with beds earlier. Usually, speedrunners would rush up to the center of the island and camp there until the dragon perches, because it was not well understood when the dragon would perch. Until now. Jojo decompiled the code of the game and looked through the code for hours to try to figure out why the Ender Dragon behaved the way it did. And it was discovered that the chances of the dragon perching are based on how far away you are from the center of the end island. The dragon has 3 states. Guarding, which is when it circles an end pillar opposite from the player. Strafing, which is when it targets the player. And perching. Strafing is a waste of time which speedrunners should try to avoid. but the chances of strafing can be lowered to 5% if the player is about 100 blocks away from the center. So if the player camped outside the pillars at the beginning of the fight, instead of camping at the center, the player could trick the dragon into perching earlier on average, and then go to the center and absolutely smash the dragon. Joe calculated this to be 35% faster than simply camping at the origin, although strafing could still happen if the speedrunner was unlucky. It had potential. And this strat would be used by a speedrunner named Curryway. He had been speedrunning on 1.14 and 1.16, slowly rising on the leaderboards over the course of a few months. Not satisfied enough with getting the 1.14 world record, he continued grinding on 1.16. He had been in the top 30 by the time September came, but he was not just looking to beat his personal best. He was going straight for the world record. And on November 3, 2020, he would get this run. And this run would not only involve quite a bit of luck, but it would also involve new strategies and methods that had not been used before in a world record run, that had been discovered as people began to understand 1.16 better. In a village chest, he finds 7 obsidian, which would be helpful for making a second nether portal and doing blind travel. The reason it is called blind travel is that there are 3 strongholds in the first stronghold ring, each spawning 120 degrees from each other, with the offset being random in each world. Strongholds also spawn a random distance of 1,300 to 2,600 blocks away from the center of the world. Since you could not tell what the angle or distance was, you would just place the second nether portal around 250 blocks away from the origin in the nether, at whatever angle, and hope that you were close to the stronghold once you came out on the overworld, which was why it was called blind. You were just guessing where to put the second nether portal. But anyways, back to the run. He gets an average nether entrance time of 5 minutes, spawning in a crimson forest biome, which is where piglins spawn the most frequently. Even though he was not next to a fortress, he was right next to another important nether structure that had not been used much in past world record runs. The Bastion Remnant. Bastions had become a subject of interest around that time, with people trying to see how it could be used in a speedrun. While Bastion Remnants did not have blaze rods, they had a lot of gold and a lot of piglins. Entire gold blocks are generated in bastions, which saves a lot of time over mining nether gold ore for gold nuggets, although they required an iron pickaxe or better to mine. All the gold from the gold blocks can be used to trade for massive amounts of items from piglins, including pearls and obsidian, while the bastion loot chests usually give extra obsidian, which will be useful for making a second nether portal. The extra pearls obtained from trading stacks of gold with piglins can be used for teleporting around, which is far superior to walking around. Overall, bastions gave a lot of useful resources. And Curryway just so happened to stumble upon a bastion. So he went there to do some trading. After mining a bunch of gold blocks and finding a group of piglins below him, he threw down about 120 gold ingots onto them. He was trading with 4 piglins at the same time. After waiting a bit, he gets several pieces of obsidian, fire resistance, and over a stack of ender pearls, which will be enough for the rest of the run. So he begins to search for a nether fortress. Because the bastion was in the positive quadrant, he goes to a new quadrant to find structures. This was because it was found that a quadrant in the nether can only hold 1 structure each. And he was lucky enough to find a fortress there. At this rate, Curryway is at a very good pace. But as I said before, he was going straight for the world record, and while this was a great run so far, he was not going to slow down to play it safe anytime soon. He frequently uses the spare ender pearls to move around quicker, but the thing about using ender pearls is that each teleportation damages the player for 2 hearts, which is a game feature probably to prevent players from spamming teleportation. After reaching the nether fortress, he uses another pearl to reach a blaze spawner, causing him to be on the brink of death while there are a bunch of hostile mobs nearby. It was a pretty close call, so he eats to regenerate some health. After drinking fire resistance obtained from piglin trading, he begins killing blazes. After getting some good blaze rod RNG, He uses the obsidian to make his second nether portal at the fortress, so he can blind travel, causing him to spawn in an underwater cave at -450, 1730. The stronghold would only be 300 blocks away. Curryway returning in the middle of the ocean would also allow him to do ocean travel, as he had a boat with him. After locating the stronghold, he then uses a strat that was new at the time, called 4-4. The Minecraft world is divided into 16 by 16 regions called chunks. By going to the chunk that the Eye of Ender pointed to, and then going to the fourth block out from the border of the chunk, on the X and Z coordinates, and digging all the way down, you were guaranteed to land right in the center of the entrance staircase, allowing for a more convenient stronghold entrance. So Curryway did that. After he finds the portal room, he enters the end at 13 minutes in, putting him at world record pace, with less of the luck seen in Corbino's run. But what would set this record apart from Corbino's record? The perch strategy I mentioned earlier. Instead of instantly going to the center, he uses a water bucket to climb the obsidian pillar closest to him, and then goes a few blocks higher to distance himself more from the center, to increase the chances of perching. After several 10 seconds of waiting, the dragon decides to change from the guarding phase to flying to the center. Curryway then takes out all of his beds and teleports to the center, and then does a one-cycle Ender Dragon kill, securing a world record of 14 minutes 36 seconds, 20 seconds ahead of Corbino's. This record used not only a lot of luck, but also a lot of technical information about how Minecraft really worked. And it also proved that using bastions was a good strategy for world record runs, as they saved lots of time on mining gold and trading with piglins. In fact, bastions would be used in all world record runs after this. And speedrunners began to focus more of their attention on bastions. Similarly to how there were evolving strats on the best way to go through structures such as strongholds and nether fortresses, several people, including 11tbillion, Dowski, T-Wag, and a few others, would begin developing strategies for the best way to go through a bastion. There were 4 different types of bastions, each with their own most efficient route. A route consists of mining gold blocks, going to some piglins, and luring a lot of them into one spot so you can trade with them. And in most cases, routes involve looting chests. You have to be careful around bastions though, as piglins deal lots of damage and become hostile easily. Piglins target you if you mine any gold blocks near them because they perceive it as stealing, and they also target you if you don't wear gold armor like the rest of them. But this hostility can be used to the player's advantage. Many piglins can be lured towards the player by breaking any gold block near them or being naked. Throwing gold distracts the piglins, so by luring lots of piglins close to you and then throwing lots of gold into a pit, the piglins would all fall in there and you could get lots of trades quickly. And that was basically the bastion strat. All that was left to do was to find more efficient routes to do all of those things quicker. These routes developed by these people would be used in many world record runs later on. Speedrunners would have to memorize where the loot chests were, where most of the piglins were, where to mine for gold blocks, and where to lure the piglins into, for each bastion type, in case they saw them in the run. The thing is, by that time, nobody else had beaten Curryway's record yet, not even Curryway himself. And he never quit speedrunning after obtaining his world record. He actually came close to beating his own record, twice, between February 2021 and his world record run. On December 14, 2020, he had a good seed and was using spare ender pearls from the bastion strategy to teleport around the nether. He stops teleporting after finding a nether fortress, when he is at 1.5 hearts. One more teleport will kill him. He then tries to eat food so he can regenerate, but his food is right next to his pearls and his hot bar. Due to a mistype, he accidentally switches to his pearls instead of his food and uses them instead of using the food, causing him to teleport and die. After ending the speedrun, he decides to explore the world to see how good it would have been if he did not die in the nether. He does a blind travel where he would have done it, and he ends up only 70 blocks away from the stronghold. The second time he could have beaten his world record was when a ruined portal spawned next to his village, but he failed to notice it, missing out on tons of potential time save. However, he continued to speedrun. At that time, he decided to focus on doing several other types of speedruns and making content. The world record stayed unbeaten. The year turned from 2020 to 2021. Still, the record still held up. In fact, this was the longest-standing world record so far in the 1.16 category. But it didn't mean the community was dead. Tens of speedrunners continued to battle for the leaderboard. And one of them was RainX. RainX was a speedrunner who took particular interest in Bastion routes. He practiced them on stream. A lot. For months, he had been spending hours on end to practice Bastions and come up with more efficient routes. So you would imagine that he knew Bastions very well. And this information would come handy on January 30th, 2021, when he got this run. At the beginning, he decided to save time by not getting any beds from the village, which will be explained later. After a good nether entry of 4 minutes, but spending 2 minutes to find nether structures, he would stumble upon a bastion known as a treasure bastion. The treasure bastion would become the most favored by speedrunners out of the 4 bastion types, due to its convenience. For RainX, he would use a route developed by him and Eleventy, that would allow him to be done with piglin trading in just 1.5 minutes. By going up this staircase and digging a hole in this spot, this allowed Rain to funnel all the piglins into a single location to do trading later on. By breaking the gold block here, which he memorized, all nearby piglins, of which there were a lot, became hostile, causing them to target him and come closer. He then throws gold into the pit to lure all of the nearby piglins towards the gold. He now has 7 piglins trading with him at the same time. In the meantime, he mines more gold blocks in memorized locations, and in nearby loot chests, he finds obsidian to make the second portal for blind travel, and string. 4 string can be crafted into 1 wool, so about 12 string is required for each bed. He goes back to the piglins and picks up the ender pearls, fire resistance and extra obsidian. However, piglin trading also gives a lot of string. Before, string from piglin trading was usually ignored, but due to the massive amounts of piglins and gold involved in bastion strategies, string came in huge amounts, often enough to craft several beds. Which was why Rain skipped the beds in the village to save time. He could just get them later. After getting all the items he would need, he entered pearls from the bastion, and into a fortress to get blaze rods. He then gets insanely lucky with rods, getting 6 rods from 7 blazes. After getting the rods, he builds the second nether portal and blind travels, returning to the overworld about 10 minutes in. He spawns in the middle of mountainous terrain, with the Eye of Ender leading him deeper into the mountains. This was no matter though, as he could just use the spare ender pearls from the bastion to teleport around them. After going around some mountains and using some more Eyes of Ender, he finds out that the stronghold was only about 100 blocks away from where he'd blind traveled in the overworld, which is insane for a blind travel. He uses the 4-4 strat and digs straight down into the stronghold, and enters the end 13 minutes into the run. About the same end ender as Curryway and Corbinose. The good bastion, Blaze Rod RNG, and blind travel put him exactly on world record pace. But how was this run different from Curryway's world record? How would it beat Curryway? It was an improvement to the Ender Dragon perch strat. The north-south perch strat. When the dragon is in the guarding phase, it will circle the tower directly opposite of the player. When it finds a tower to circle, it usually does so for about 20 seconds. But Jojo, the original tester of the perch strat, found that there was a way to get rid of the 20-second circling entirely. Before this, most speedrunners did the east-west perch strat, as players always spawned east of the end island when they reached the end, meaning that the east pillar was the closest pillar to do the perch strat. In the east-west perch strat, the player would be on the east pillar, causing the dragon to go west and circle the west tower for about 20 seconds. The player would have to wait it out. But the thing is, there is no tower directly south or north of the end center. For example, if a player was somewhere north, then the dragon would go south, but it would not spend time to circle around anything because there was no tower directly south of the center. So the dragon would immediately skip from the guarding phase to perching without the 20 seconds circling. The thing is, the dragon transitions to perching very suddenly when the north-south strat is used, and you would have to react quickly if the dragon was to perch. Due to this, an ender pearl was required to teleport from the north or south to the center immediately after the dragon starts perching. If this was pulled off correctly, the dragon would perch about 20 seconds faster on average than a normal east-west perch method. And Rain would attempt the north-south perch to save those 20 seconds. After teleporting to the south end of the island and towering on top of the south tower to increase the distance between him and the center, the dragon goes north only to find that there is no tower to circle around. The dragon then almost immediately snaps towards the center, meaning that it is about to perch. Rain then pearls to the center and gets ready to kill the dragon.
There it is, boys. There it is, boys. That's how we do it. Yeah, dude, that's how we do it. All right. That's it, bros. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say.
He had done it. He had beaten the longest-standing world record, by 19 seconds. You may have noticed that for the last 3 world records, the difference always came in the end of the run. They all entered the end at around 13 minutes despite vastly different nether and overworld strategies, but it was the methods used in the boss fight that made the whole difference. Corbanos used the old method of camping near the middle, while Curryway used the most popular method at his time, which was the east-west perch method, and Rain did the north-south perch method, which was the most effective method known at that time. The thing was, you didn't have to go on top of the south tower. You just needed to be in the south end of the island to make the dragon go north. But after that, the end would not be optimized much. Except for the fast zero-cycle dragon kill. But that's a story for later in the vid. The record would be held by RainX for nearly a month. The thing about Rain's record was that just an hour before it, he had a run that had an incredibly lucky seed and a better end entry, by about 6 seconds. He had gotten 2 world record seeds in 1 hour. But the first one died right at the very end, due to bad ender dragon RNG. After doing the north-south perch strat and going on top of the tower, the dragon strafed RainX continuously, causing him to lose world record pace, and he was only able to beat his personal best. The world record could have been about 6 seconds faster than what RainX had. But regardless of 6 seconds or not, the world record would be broken after 22 days, by 14 seconds. And this person was quite high definition. The thing about Illumina was that despite the growing popularity of the debug tools like F3 information and hitboxes, Illumina enjoyed speedrunning the game without debug tools, despite debug tools being crucial for some parts of the run. This caused his world record run to be quite unusual but also more impressive, with strange strategies such as breaking a block to see its breaking texture, which could show you where the X and Z directions were, without using F3. This is due to all breaking textures being oriented the same way. This would be used when he entered the nether just 3 minutes into the run, when he started digging basalt to look at the cracks, so he could determine where the positive X and Z quadrant of the nether was. The fast 3-minute nether entry was due to Illumina going through his village quickly and being able to build a nether portal without finding a lava lake. When going through the village, he finds 2 blacksmiths, which are one of the most useful village houses for speedrunning due to its overall better loot and its small lava pool. From both blacksmiths, he finds not only an iron sword and pickaxe, but 9 obsidian, just 1 block away from building a portal. Using all his obsidian and some lava from the blacksmith, he makes a nether portal right in the middle of the village, without having to search for a lava lake. He could just get more obsidian at the bastion. After going into the nether and going towards 1 quadrant, he finds a blaze spawner only 4 minutes into the run, and gets 6 blaze rods from 7 blazes. Which was great RNG. He then goes towards another quadrant to find the bastion, and uses a route similar to Rain's route to do piglin trading. However, this part was not as optimal due to gold blocks not spawning as much in the bastion, and due to Illumina picking up the gold on multiple occasions while the piglins were still trading, which slowed him down quite a bit. But he was able to get all the pearls and obsidian he needed by 8 minutes and 30 seconds, so he blind travels to the overworld, where he casts some Eyes of Ender to locate the stronghold. He uses the spare Ender pearls to skip having to navigate the mountainous terrain, and reaches an ocean, which was convenient. One thing you may have noticed with speedruns involving submerged strongholds is that speedrunners usually go into third-person mode and look at their character at a certain angle so that they can see through the ocean. Usually it is impossible to look at what's under the ocean unless you have night vision, but at the right angle, the ocean is very clear. As it turned out, Illumina's blind travel put him about 1,500,000 blocks away from the stronghold, and it took him 4 minutes to go from his second nether portal to the stronghold. Blind travel is usually harder to do efficiently without F3 due to you needing to know your exact coordinates to know where to put your second nether portal. So he did not get too lucky with this blind travel as his second nether portal was probably too close to the origin. After finding the stronghold and swimming down to it, he checks the sources of light as they could lead to the end portal room, and he finds the portal room from the outside. He then makes it to the end dimension 12 minutes and 30 seconds in. Nearly half a minute faster than world record pace. The quick nether ender and amazing blaze rod RNG allowed him to get this much of an advantage. But in a world record that beat second place by only 14 seconds, anything could have been an advantage. He then gets ready to do the north-south perching strat, and towers up to increase the chances of perching. The dragon strafes him once, but it perches a minute after he entered the end dimension, allowing him to pearl towards the center and do a one-cycle kill, setting a new world record of 13 minutes 53 seconds. It was an impressive run, with many people having mad respect for him not using F3 during the entire run. While it did show that world record was viable without F3, F3 would only be continued to be used more in speedrunning due to its convenience. There were not many new strats in this run, which was why it was not much faster than the former world record. But this world record would be beaten by nearly 2 minutes, after just 3 days. How? What could have led to such a big difference? Was it a new strat or method? This speedrun used a newly developed method known as hypermodern. Hypermodern was a curious strategy explored by several people, that ignores structures usually used in speedruns, such as villages or lava lakes, and takes advantages of structures that were previously not considered meta or viable for a speedrun, such as shipwrecks, buried treasure, and ocean ravines with magma at the bottom. The hypermodern, which works only if you spawn next to an ocean, was first theorized and developed on as early as November and December 2020, and it involves something a little like this. After getting some wood and stone, you would make a boat, some doors, and tools. You would skip finding a village or a lava lake above ground. You would go to the ocean instead. In this strat, you would keep an eye out for underwater lava ravines and shipwrecks. Shipwrecks contain iron, gold, and foods such as carrots, potatoes, and fish. They also contain buried treasure maps. You can use the buried treasure map to locate buried treasure, which give even more iron, gold, and food. You would then go for an underwater magma ravine, which are ravines at the bottom of the ocean that go so deep that they reach the lava level, which is indicated by all the obsidian and magma blocks. Underneath the obsidian and magma blocks is a layer of lava. It was basically an underwater lava lake. However, underwater travel consumes oxygen, but that's no problem. Another important part of this meta are doors. Placing doors removes all water blocks from the blocks it is placed in, and players can fit in the same block as a door, meaning you can replenish oxygen whenever you want by placing a door next to you. Breaking blocks is also faster in air compared to in water. Using some doors, some tools, and a bucket crafted from iron found in the shipwreck, you can then do this. By using doors to provide air to the player, and then breaking through the magma blocks to reach lava, pouring out the lava into the ocean to make the obsidian for the nether portal, and doing a few other steps, you could make a nether portal without having to find an above-ground lava lake. After that, this is where the hypermodern strat ends. It only applies to the first overworld part, so speedrunners would still use the average bastion and fortress strat, blind travel, and ender dragon perch. The hypermodern strat was tried out by several people, but it was never used in a world record run yet. People have used it to get a good nether entry all while having the items they needed, without having to search for a village or a lava lake. The only problem were the ocean ravines, which were not as convenient as surface lava pools for making portals, and it would increase reliance on bastions as there were lots of stuff you were missing out on from villages. It was still viable for a world record though. But who was going to prove it? 2-letter name. Just like many other people, 2-letter name was a previously unknown, but up-and-coming speedrunner. And he would get his chance at setting the world record. Actually, it was 2 chances. Similarly to Rain, he would get 2 great seeds that could potentially be world record, in a span of 2 days. And on both of them, he used the hypermodern strat. On February 23, 2021, he would barely beat Illumina, by a single second. In the first overworld section, he came across a shipwreck, some buried treasure, an underwater ruined portal, and had enough materials to go into a magma ravine to build the portal, entering the nether in just 4 minutes, with no village. The rest of the run was similar to the strats that the past world record holders used, and he would beat the dragon in 13 minutes 52 seconds. The closest world record yet in 1.16 RSG history. But he was not satisfied just yet. While the speedrun mods were verifying this run, 2-letter name returned with yet another world record just 1 day later, which had a better hypermodern. This time, it would beat the world record by 2 minutes. After spawning into the world and getting wood, the run instantly deviates from the average speedrun. He jumps into the ocean and swims towards this shipwreck. Another thing about hypermodern strats was that due to all the ocean travel, there was a chance you could meet dolphins, which give a speed boost to the player when swimming. 2-letter name used the dolphins to his advantage and was able to reach the shipwreck 1 minute in. He finds some iron, gold, and the treasure map. The treasure is close by, so he decides to go for it. The map leads him to a chest with more iron, food, and gold, and he uses this to make some decent tools. Before he leaves the ship, he makes 3 doors and a boat, and loots one final chest for more food. He uses a door to mine flint from the gravel at the bottom of the ocean, and then swims into this magma ravine, before 3 minutes was even over yet. Keep in mind that the magma ravine is like the equivalent to a lava lake, and getting to the lava lake before 3 minutes was great pace. He successfully makes the underwater nether portal, allowing him to reach the nether in just 3 minutes 20 seconds. After spawning into the nether, he sees a nether fortress, and a bastion as well, right next to each other. Things were looking good. He decides to go to the bastion first as the fire resistance from piglins will be useful in the fortress. It is a treasure bastion as well, the best variant for speedrunning. He then uses Ninja Brain's bastion route for the piglin raids, although it takes him a while to get enough pearls. He also does not have enough string to make the beds for the end fight, but he decides not to waste too much time on the bastion, and decides to curl towards the blaze spawner in the fortress. Hopefully he could get more string or wool in the later sections of the run. He gets decent blaze rod RNG in the fortress, and after getting 6 rods, he begins traveling to the optimal coordinates to do the blind travel. He makes the second nether portal and returns to the overworld about 9 minutes in, which was slightly behind world record. He casts an Eye of Ender, and uses his pearls to travel towards the stronghold. Along the way, he shears some sheep to get the extra wool he would need to make beds for the end fight. Due to the blind travel and pearls, it only takes him 2 minutes to reach and enter the stronghold, which was way better than the blind travel from Illumina's no F3 world record run. He uses the 4-4 strat for a fast entrance, and is lucky to find the portal room in just 10 seconds. He fills in the portal and enters the end, at 11 minutes 30 seconds. An entire minute ahead of world record. He pearls towards the island and goes to the south side to increase the chance of the dragon perching, but he doesn't make a tower. Instead, he spends this time to make his beds. Luckily, the dragon perches only 40 seconds after 2-letter name enters the end due to no strafes and no tower circling, and he does the 1 cycle ender dragon kill, allowing him to get the new world record of 12 minutes 12 seconds. While this unusual overworld strat was surprising to the community, what was even more surprising was the fact that this speedrunner seemingly came out of the blue, with little past history. And this would happen yet again, in the world record right after this one. You may have noticed that so far, amazing luck, memorization of routes, and technical knowledge of game mechanics was important. But another thing that was becoming important, was quick decision making. A skill of experienced speedrunners is knowing exactly what to do in a certain situation, as there are many choices a speedrunner will have to make throughout the speedrun. Such as, which way to go in a stronghold, how long to stay at a structure before it's time to move on, and countless other choices. At this point, there was no time frame decision. You had to get on with it. Speedrunners had to make split-second choices if they wanted to go for the world record, and this would be seen in the upcoming world record runs. And one of these runs was a world record set 20 days after, by yet another previously unknown speedrunner, named FE666. While 2-letter name's hypermodern strat led him to reaching the Nether in just 3 minutes, FE666 was able to reach the Nether in just 1 minute. It was not due to any new crazy strategy or method, but it was simply due to an insanely lucky seed. At this point, the top speedrunners had tens of thousands of attempts at the world record, with most of them already being reset before even Nether entry due to them not being a world record seed. They had gone through thousands and thousands of world creations. And by March of 2021, several speedrunners already had over 10,000 attempts. A runner known as FE666, had 22,800 attempts, and was still doing attempts. In his case, all of these attempts had been without results so far, with no world record yet. Which is the thing about a lot of unknown speedrunners. But for FE666, it would pay off eventually. Because on March 16, 2021, he would win the seed lottery. This seed was, for a lack of a better word, swag. He spawns right next to a village with a weaponsmith, and a ruined portal as well. Usually, ruined portals are useless at the beginning of the run due to them being incomplete, but in a chest next to the portal, he found enough obsidian to complete the portal. This was after he looted the village and did the bare minimum, not bringing any beds or even any food, although he did find some tools. At this point, speedruns were getting so short that not much food was required anymore, and a few pieces of food found in the Nether were enough. He steps in the portal, and for a split second, he edges out because he considers getting a few beds or some food just in case, but he was already committed. He was going to try to play it out without any beds or food from the starting village. Whether this choice would doom the run or not, he would find out later. He enters the Nether in just 1 minute, due to not spending much time in the village. However, in the Nether, he does not see any fortresses and bastion in sight. Well, no matter. There was a strategy to find what direction the Nether structures were. In the debug information is info telling you how many entities are in your line of sight, out of how many entities are spawned. Structures tend to have a lot of entities, so if a structure was in front of you, this number increases. It does not matter if there are blocks obscuring your view. All that matters is that the entities are in your line of sight. While this number is helpful in locating which direction the structures were, there is a way to make it better. By decreasing your field of view, your line of sight is smaller, which lets you get a more specific direction for structures. After using this strat to find the direction of one structure, he gets some blocks and goes in that direction. He discovers that the structure is a bastion, the bridge type. Since FE skipped getting flint in the overworld, which meant he had no flint and steel to light portals, he would have to use fire charges to light the portal, which are a common trait from the piglins. and although he gets some decent trades, he accidentally throws out his fire charges, which will cost him about 25 seconds later on when he has to mine some gravel repeatedly to get flint. After drinking some fire resistance, he uses the same F3 strat to locate the Nether Fortress mobs, and uses Ender Pearls to teleport there. He messes up a bit with the teleportation, with one Ender Pearl leading him to fall into an ocean of lava. He was saved by drinking the fire resistance early though. And he had to spend a minute to find the blaze spawner, although he got amazing RNG and obtained 6 blaze rods from 6 blazes. 82% chance. He then teleports to the optimal coordinates to do the blind travel, and spends some time to get flint. Although this nether part was not very optimized, the insane 1-minute nether entry balanced it out, and he made it back to the overworld 9 minutes in, which was very good pace. All he needed now was a good ender dragon fight, and hopefully, the blind travel put him not too far from the stronghold. And the blind travel paid off. He enters the stronghold in only 1.5 minutes, and enters the end about 11 minutes in, 30 seconds ahead of the world record. He then uses his leftover pearls to teleport on top of this pillar so he can do the north-south perch, and is able to get the dragon to perch about a minute into the fight. He does a 1-cycle kill, and finishes the speed run at 11 minutes 50 seconds. Another insane speed run, done on an insane seed. These recent speedrunners were previously unknown runners that had been playing for a while, hoping that they could get a world record and some recognition. And it was good to see more unknown runners have their chance in the spotlight. But FE666's spotlight would only last 4 days. Because of a speedrunner you have heard of before, and former world record holder. It was the Sizzler. A bit after his world record, he did some 1.14 attempts, before taking a break. And then he returned on January to do some more 1.16 attempts using the new strats. By this point, similarly to FE666, he had gone through 22,000 1.16 attempts. And that was just in the year of 2021 alone. Along the way, he had gotten very skilled at getting around the terrain, and was extremely fast at crafting stuff, which would help a lot. It was safe to say that he was a far better speedrunner now than when he got his old world record, with tens of thousands of attempts between them. And on March 20th 2021, he would get this run. This run had a nether entry and nether exit that was on par with world record pace. But the thing is, this world record would beat the old record by about a minute. And here's how that happened.
Holy shit. Oh my god!
Remember how I said at the beginning of the video that structures tend to help a speed run out? Well, this one was a bit of a dubious case. The Sea Monument is a rare ocean structure that holds the Elder Guardian boss, which affects all nearby players with 5 minutes of mining fatigue 3, which makes it practically impossible to break any blocks, unless you get rid of the effect, which can be done in 2 ways: dying, or drinking milk. Sizzler did not have milk. A world record speed run would be impossible with mining fatigue as you still needed to dig into a stronghold, and the run seemed to be over. But not just yet. The second way of getting rid of negative effects is to die. Sizzler basically had to die in order to salvage this world record run. He decides to go towards this nearby island, but on his way, he sees yet another structure in the ocean.
What? Oh, God.
Indeed. It was the stronghold. It was less than 100 blocks away from where he blind traveled, which is one of the best outcomes possible for blind traveling, and the fact that it was underwater instead of underground made it much more convenient to reach. This could break the world record by a lot. But he had to deal with the mining fatigue first. It was okay to die since Sizzler had beds with him, and sleeping in a bed sets your respawn point. Now that the respawn was taken care of, It was time to find the fastest way to die to get rid of the mining fatigue. He tried to drown himself in lava, which would usually be the fastest way to die, but he was immune to lava due to him drinking fire resistance in the nether. And then, he quickly realizes he can use ender pearls over and over again to bring a quick death. So he uses all of his remaining ender pearls to die. While he respawns without mining fatigue, he no longer has any ender pearls left, which will make the ender dragon boss fight quite harder. This mining fatigue also cost him 25 seconds, but it did not matter. The very lucky placement of the stronghold, and the good nether times, allow him to swim inside the portal room and enter the end just 10 minutes in, a full minute ahead of the world record run. He stands at the south edge of the end island to make the dragon perch faster, but he will have to react very quickly and get to the center as soon as the dragon starts perching, as he has no pearls to teleport. He can only sprint there. He makes it just in time, and waits for the dragon to come down. He then does a one-cycle dragon kill, setting an insane world record of 11 minutes, 7 seconds. It was an extraordinary run that showed just how skilled speedrunners were getting. Despite some terrible luck with the ocean monument, he was able to salvage the run with some genius plays. Seeds that were not so perfect could still be turned into world record runs if you knew what you were doing. And since the start of the 1.16 category, not even a single year had passed. The community had seen insane luck, crazily skilled speedrunners, and insane new strategies take the world record first below 20 minutes, then 15 minutes, and ever so closely, to the 10-minute mark. In the 9 years since the Ender Dragon came out, in the history of random seed glitchless, a sub 10-minute run had never been achieved. But people knew it was possible. The strat finders of the community had already done a lot for Minecraft speedrunning to come this far, but they still wanted to push the game harder. And that was exactly what happened. In a normal blind travel, you had no idea what the angle and distance of the stronghold was, so it was mostly left to luck. Sometimes you would end up thousands of blocks away from the stronghold, while sometimes you can end up only 100 blocks away, which is very rare. But what if I told you, you could find the angle and distance of the stronghold, using normal structures like nether fossils and animals like sheep, and use this information to build a nether portal at the most optimal coordinates, usually putting you only 400 blocks away from the stronghold, and sometimes even inside the stronghold itself. Here's how you could do it. After going through the source code of the game, the way strongholds are generated was much more understood now. The random number generator responsible for making strongholds uses the world seed to produce a bunch of random numbers related to stronghold generation. The first number generated determines the angle of the stronghold, while the third number determines the distance of the stronghold from 0, 0. However, the same seed is used for other random number generators responsible for other aspects of the game such as mob generation or feature generation. So the first and third numbers made by these other random number generators would be the same as the first and third numbers made by the stronghold RNG, because they all use the same seed. But only on one condition. While the stronghold RNG directly uses the seed, the animal RNG uses X times F of seed plus Z times G of seed X or seed, and structure RNG uses F of seed times X, X or G of seed times Z, X or seed. The X and Z are Minecraft chunk coordinates while functions F and G are functions used to randomize it further. This equation is used to guarantee that animals and structures will have different RNG than strongholds. But there was one oversight. 0x or a number equals the same number. So if X and Z were 0, meaning you were at the center chunk of the Minecraft world, this half of the equation would be 0. And since the equation is now 0x or seed, this is equal to seed. So when X and Z are 0, all RNGs use the same seed. Basically, only at the center chunk of the world, numbers produced by the animal and structure RNG would be the same as numbers produced by the stronghold RNG. That means that animals and structures you find at the center chunk will tell you accurate information about strongholds. For example, The chances of mobs spawning in any chunk is 10%. The first number produced by animal RNG determines if an animal is even going to spawn, so if an animal spawns in a chunk, the first number for that chunk is less than 0.1. If that chunk was the center chunk, meaning it using the same seed as the stronghold RNG, then the stronghold RNG's first number is also less than 0.1, meaning that the angle offset of the strongholds is somewhere between 0 and 0.2 pi radians. As for Nether Fossils, the x-coordinate of the fossil is the first number made by the structure RNG, so if the fossil was at the center chunk, the x-coordinate of the fossil determines the angle of the stronghold. There are 16 possible x-coordinates in each chunk, so each x-coordinate corresponds with 1/16 of the stronghold ring, which is about 22 degrees each. For example, if the x-coordinate of the fossil was 7, the stronghold offset was between 7/16 and 8/16 of the stronghold ring. There was a table developed by several people that links each possible fossil x-coordinate to the best places to travel back to the overworld, in case you found a fossil at the center chunk. The table also shows other information that can be determined by other stuff found at the center chunk. It was crazy. The worst case scenario is that divine travel would put you 800 blocks away from the stronghold, which was way better than blind travel. This table of coordinates would take you 2000 blocks away from the origin in the overworld, which is right in between the range of distances the strongholds can spawn at. But there was a table of coordinates that had riskier locations to place your nether portal. These coordinates took you 1500 blocks away from the origin in the overworld, which is very close to the inner radius of the stronghold ring, which is to take advantage of another thing about strongholds. They were more likely to spawn closer to the inner radius than the outer radius. With this riskier table of coordinates, you could end up closer to a stronghold than with the normal table, but the worst case scenario was that you were put 1200 blocks away from the stronghold. Divine travel had been known since around February or March of 2021, and was discovered mostly by Matthew Bolin, with the help of Supercode 79 and Closet Witch. And this method would be tried out by some speedrunners when they got the chance. One of the first divine travel runs comes from Ninja Brain, where he finds a nether fossil at the center chunk. The nether fossil was at x-coordinate 8, which corresponded with these sets of coordinates on the normal table. He goes for the third stronghold, which, as it turned out, was only 250 blocks away from where he returned to the overworld. The divine travel method had potential, although it was quite rare to find any meaningful information at the center chunk. And if you did get the opportunity to do divine travel, you would need an insane rest of the run for a world record. You would need a good overworld time, a good bastion and fortress time, good blaze rod RNG, hope that the divine travel is close to the stronghold, and hope that the dragon perches quickly. Then you would have to do a one-cycle kill. A sub 10-minute run was possible. Many speedrunners had been going for it. Thousands upon thousands of failed attempts passed. Weeks went by and there was still no new world record. But who would be the first to get the sub 10-minute run? On April 19, 2021, this happened. A runner by the name of Brentilda not only broke the world record, but he destroyed the 10-minute barrier by nearly half a minute. One of the most insane speedruns in Minecraft history. Here's how it went down. After spawning close to a village, he gets some stone tools, food, 2 beds, wood for making more beds later on, and some iron. However, there was no gravel or flint nearby, meaning he could not get a flint and steel required to light the portal. So he gets some carpets from a house. There are many ways to light a portal if you did not have any flint. The portal lights up as long as a fire block is placed within the obsidian. Since nether portals are built next to lava pools, you could place wood next to the lava and portal, which would catch on fire and light the portal. Carpets catch on fire faster than wood, so he gets carpets to light the portal. However, he spots some gravel nearby, which makes the carpet unnecessary. While this was fortunate, it was always good to be prepared for unlucky situations. He then enters the nether 3 minutes in, which at this point is only a decent time for world record. He looks around for any structures, and he sees not only a bastion, but a fossil, which happens to be at the center chunk. This fossil was at x=8, which will be important info later on. He does some parkour to get to the bastion, which is the housing type, where he does a route called the top-down housing route, made by Dowski. He begins at the top, where he loots these chests for obsidian, string, and iron. This causes the piglins to be aggressive to him and follow him around, as he has been caught stealing. He then goes down these tunnels, leading the piglins down with him. He goes to this specific area where he blocks himself from the piglins and mines below them, causing them to be dropped into a hole, where he throws gold at them. The reason behind this spot is that there are many gold blocks nearby if you looked in the right spots, and there is a nearby chest if you dig through here. He gets all the obsidian and pearls he needs from the chests and piglin trades, including some fire resistance which he uses on himself for the nether fortress part. After pearling across a lava lake, he uses a strat known as render distance manipulation, a strat that had been discovered by T-Wag a while before, which allows you to get blazes without even finding a blaze spawner. Nether fortresses have a low chance of spawning a blaze randomly around its hallways and rooms without having a spawner, which are called stray blazes. But the stray blaze spawn rate is nowhere as close as the blaze spawner rates. The game spawns several mobs spread throughout the chunks that you have rendered, which may include blazes when you are in a nether fortress. But if you lower your render distance to something like 4 chunks, mob spawns are more concentrated around you. This can lead to crazy blaze spawning in a nether fortress, which saves you from having to find a blaze spawner, and lets you kill blazes without having to wait for the spawner to spawn blazes. So he does this, and he finds himself surrounded by hostile mobs everywhere, including those juicy blazes. After getting all the blaze rods he needs, without even needing to go to a spawner, he goes to the location for the blind travel. He remembers that the fossil was at x=8, which corresponds with these nether portal locations. But instead of using the normal coordinates, he was going to use the riskier coordinates. He goes for the first stronghold, which has a recommended nether portal coordinate of -186-37. So he travels there and makes a portal. Hopefully, on the other side, he would be close to the stronghold.
Dude. I can't pause. I can't pause. What? Dude. Oh my god. Dude. What?